Colin, good to see you.
Good to see you.
We just brought in Buzz Rock
Delicious.
Colin Cowherd's The Herd Draft Picks Hazy IPA.
Yeah. It's done very well. We're getting it into Buffalo Wild Wings in Southern California. Anheuser-Busch is going to help us with distribution. Look at that.
I got to tell you, we were sent the sample out, about a month ago. And we're like, what is this? This beer's really good. And my father told me you had this project going on with them. Tell me how it started, how you got that going.
A couple years ago, Manhattan Beach Food Group, the Zizlis Food Group, Mike Zizlis, came to me about being part of a brews hall. So you have multiple restaurants, which is really popular, like community eating, a brews hall. And I said, great. And then after about a year of doing it, he talked about having a beer and how scalable it was. And I said, my thing is always, is the quality good? Because I don't want to put my name on something I'm not proud of. And in my career, radio, TV, you get a lot of advertisers. They ask a lot of questions. They're interested in latching on. And I told my wife this, I say no all the time. But then we started sampling it, and I was just like, wow, this is great beer. And there was hazy IPAs are popular.
Sure.
And I said, I'd love to get behind this. And as you know, state lines, certain jurisdictions, it's hard to move alcohol in America. There's dry counties. There are states that are the wild, wild west, anything goes. As we know with Maximum Beverage, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. So we're starting it out in Southern California. We've got it everywhere from the Roxy on Sunset to some sports bars, to the Delta Lounge at LAX, and now your stores in Connecticut.
Yes.
So I'm just really proud of it. I think it's a great beer. And I'm not somebody that sits down and knocks down 6-7 beers, but I open a can like tonight's Monday Night Football.
Sure.
I'm going to have absolutely going to have a Hazy Herd IPA, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I was very surprised at the quality. Being in New England, the Hazy IPA really is like a New England staple. That's what we do out here. You got breweries like Treehouse and, Other Half and all these Northeast breweries that really produce great quality beer. And this is kind of, along those lines. I think, the guys or gals, whoever at Buzz Rock, which, who you partnered with on this, did a great job making this beer. And the price point, I think it's going to be at like $10.99, $11.99. That's not expensive. I mean, for a hazy IPA, that's on a good price point.
Yeah. And we believe that will eventually be able to slightly come down because of the facilities. We're going to start using a new facility to, we want to keep the price point really, really competitive. But I don't know. I just, so many people have their money in vodkas and bourbons and tequilas. And my takeaway is when I go to a game, I drink beer. 100%. When I go to a baseball game, a football game, I drink beer. Also, I have to leave a stadium or leave a bar and drive home, right? Yeah. I can't have 4 tequila drinks, 4 margaritas. So for me, beer is just accessible, affordable, relatable, and I like it.
Yeah, that's great. We're excited to have it. We got about 100 cases in online. You guys have 20 some odd shows between podcasts and betting shows and things like that. And tell me a little bit of how you started that idea. Was that a long thing that you had going on, or was it really did it come together quick? Tell me about the process a little.
So during COVID, there was no traffic on the road in America, right? Nobody was able to drive. And I had a conversation about 2 months into COVID when we were really in the throes of it, like that March, April, May. And my CEO at Premier Radio said, your ratings have gone up. And I'm like, there's no cars on the road.
Right.
She said, you're really doing well in that. She said, I think your style of broadcasting, kind of storytelling, it's working with people, and the people who are on the road, they're listening. And I said, how's our advertising? Because companies at that point were reeling. And she said, you stabilized. She said, you're still sold out. And I just remember thinking the show was growing. This is about 3 years ago. I thought if when COVID ends, there's going to be a demand for spots. Where do I put them? I don't have any inventory. So I formed this company. I said, I'll give you 2,000 hours a month. I get to own it. You can sell it for me and I'll give you a revenue split.
Sure.
But I'm going to create this company because I don't want to hire a sales force. And so iHeartRadio and I have a revenue split on the sales part of it. And I just started listening to a lot of tapes during COVID. You couldn't go out. You couldn't go to a mall. You couldn't go to restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
I sat home and listened to a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTubers and just started putting together, finding people. I got FanDuel as a sponsor, our initial sponsor, a couple $1 million. And I just started finding people. And we were very lucky in that COVID, companies were letting people off. And so I found these super talented young people who wanted to work at home, who didn't want to go back to work, that wouldn't have been available had these big broadcasting companies, NBC, ESPN, CNN, laid off people. They wouldn't have been available. It was almost like the cooling of the market gave us an opportunity to hire some really smart young people. And now we got 24 employees. Just hired another one a couple of days ago, a business ops woman, and we're rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I love, Richard Sherman, Draymond Green, those guys, you really got some sort of fiery, controversial at time figures. And it works. I mean, you definitely hit that. I think we talked at one point and you said you wanted to be kind of like, not to name the other podcasting companies out there, but along the lines of those, you want to be young, hip, but also have like, that really, that nice even keel sense where you're not too over the top. It's not, comical.
Yeah. I mean, I'm older, so I'm not going to attract a lot of 17 to 23-year-olds. We don't have a ton in common, but I don't want to be as stoic as a big broadcast corporation. So, my thing is, can I find personalities that are grinders, that love sports, but have different angles on it? Because whether people like me or not, I think my brand is sort of, I have a different way of seeing the same thing everybody else is watching. Yeah. Little different sort of view on stuff. So I kind of try to find young people that want to work hard. I think Draymond and Richard Sherman are great examples of, they just see the world differently. And that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I want to kind of cycle here a little bit. It's obviously football season. I'm sure yesterday, a guy like you, are you glued in front of the TV from 1 to, I don't know, 11 at night? Yep. Well, that's East Coast time. So to kind of touch on that, we're a Northeast company. 90% of our customer base is Patriots, Jets, Giants. Are there some Eagles fans? I'm sure tons, but most of it's Giants, Jets, Patriots. They kind of had a theme this season. All three of those teams had at one time or another issues at quarterback, or they will have issues at quarterback coming up. So I really wanted you to discuss, let's start with the Giants. Daniel Jones, they didn't pick up the fifth year option on him. You envision, in my opinion, I'm not sure what's going to happen next year. I'm guessing they're looking elsewhere. What do you think's happening there in Giants country?
I thought they would go after Jimmy Garoppolo. Now his free agent market opportunities have fizzled. I don't think Daniel Jones, I think he's a backup or a very, very low end starter. I think Brian Daboll's history is he gets about the most out of a quarterback you can get. Sure. I think Daniel's fine. But what's happened, Matt, is over the last 10 years, to increase the safety in the sport, the league has implemented rules that take away hitting. So receivers can't get hit, quarterbacks can't get hit, nobody can get hit upstairs. So the middle of the field now, which was the defenses for my entire life, that's offense now. You can go in the middle and you're not going to get hit. So everybody wants to go play in the middle offensively. Years ago, you'd had maybe one receiver, Michael Irvin, was willing to go get popped.
Yeah.
And so the league's become very quarterback centric. And if you don't have a guy, and there's about 8 to 10 in the sport, you're just not going to win championships. And if you're the Giants and you have a standard, Phil Simms, Eli Manning, like your standard is winning championships. So I think I like Dable. I think they found a left tackle in Andrew Thomas. They have a star back. So there's some pieces there. They have a Thibodeau. They have a nice edge rush. They've got pieces, but they're not special at quarterback. And I think about 18 teams in the league can say, I mean, there's 3 quarterbacks to me that are different, that are young, in their prime, and great. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen.
Right.
Then there's another 10 that are absolutely can win a division.
Sure.
Cousins, Dak, Derek Carr. And by the way, I think Herbert is really close to the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow class. I think he's inches away. And then there's
that
about
Chargers
10,
curse. Got Chargers curse.
Yes. And then there's about 10 to 12 guys that are good enough to win a division, but probably need a lot of help to just get to a Super Bowl. Goff, Cousins, Dak. And then the rest of the league, the other 15, 16, they need to draft, get on a phone, or go to the free agent market. And I think the Giants are in that.
Yeah, it brings me to the Jets, which I think are in that, obviously in that category. Although I know that we're excited a little bit about Mike White, but how funny is it? Zach Wilson, offseason story, the mother's friend and the whole thing. He's probably, he's living on cloud 9. He comes back and the season kind of crumbles, and then he handles it so poorly. I think he's gone. I don't know what you think. I think Mike White's taking his spot, or.
Yeah, well, Mike White has the size and maturity, lacks the talent. Zach has the talent, but lacks the size and maturity.
Right.
If you can combine them, you've got a franchise quarterback. So what you have is 2 guys that lack a key element to be great. Right. So to me, they're both backups in the league. And I think Mike White is a better backup because he simply throws a more accurate football. And his personality is more fitting of a backup. He's not a hot shot. There's no hero ball. You could bring him in and just say, I always said a good backup is your starter gets hurt for 2 games. Can he win 1? Do the guys like him? By the second game, they've seen film. They know what he can't do. But I think they have to go and take a big swing on the free agent market because I love their defense. And when Breece Hall returns, they've got a star back. They have 2 young receivers that I really like, Wilson and Moore. So they've got some really nice pieces. Like the Giants, they got to clean their own lineup. But I think the Jets are close. They're a quarterback away. I think the Giants are a quarterback and rebuilding the receiving core and O-line away.
Don't you think they run into that issue? They're going to, as your show is closing out today, you had Mark Sanchez on there where, their defense is really good and they're going to be very solid. They're going to be drafting probably late teens, early 20s. It's going to be tough to find a franchise guy in the draft. Your free agency is probably the way to go, right?
Yeah. Derek Carr, although I wouldn't let him go, I'd make a run at Derek Carr, who I think almost single-handedly pulled the Raiders in a mess, just a tire fire last year. Interim coach. Henry Ruggs kills a civilian. They had to kick off a first-round pick. I mean, it was just chaos, and he pulled them into the playoffs. I would love to see him get a legitimate defense. The Raiders have had a bad defense for a decade. So he can only win through adversity and shootouts. And I would love to see him get a really good defense. I think the Jets have really nice pieces. I love their GM. They just need the guy. But, yesterday was a prime example. They twice had great drives, and they just, if Burrow's their quarterback, they win that game. Right. Mike White is, they lose it. They just couldn't get into the end zone in the red zone. But the structure, the coach, the defense gave them 2. How about, they called 3 timeouts. They basically got the ball back at midfield due to their great defense. So there's so much as a Jet fan to like But this didn't exist 12 years ago in the league, but there is a ceiling now if you don't have an A quarterback.
Yeah, you see it. I mean, Patriots, onto the Patriots, right? You know, you got Mac Jones, again, tough outing. He gets pulled. You know, I think he's hurt, if I recall, and then Zappy comes in. He has a good game, like you said, get some tape. They get some tape on him. All of a sudden, Zappy's performance is not so great. Mac Jones comes back. Where do you see that? You see him as the guy.
Well, I think Mac's a starter in the league. I don't think Zach Wilson is. I don't think Daniel Jones is. I do think Mac Jones is a starter in the NFL. His issue, he's had good defenses.
Right.
His issue is the organization struggles to draft and develop skill players. Belichick's a defensive guy. He really has no feel for offense. That was fine for most of his career. It's not today. So they feel like they need a really strong general manager and a new set of eyes, and that they have power. Like if I was Robert Kraft, I would go to Bill and just say, Bill, you're out of the drafting business. That's no longer, we're going to find somebody that can get, because, you know, Bill said something a few years ago that turned me off. He said, I only want to coach the guys I want to coach. It's like, time out. That's not pro sports.
Yeah.
There's a butt head in every locker room. And if he can catch, run, defend, tackle, sack, you put up with it. These are young men from various backgrounds. They're imperfect. Some have overcome a ton in their childhood and their life. They're not all perfect. You have to be comfortable with a little discomfort. And when Bill said that, I thought, Bill's too rich. Bill's got too many rings. Like he doesn't want to coach except the guys I want to coach. Well, sometimes those egos, they're wide receivers. Right?
Yeah.
Got to deal with it. But I think Mac has talent. I think Mac, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I think he's in that Cousins, Dak, Garoppolo. You can go a long way if you give him the defense, the coaching, and the weapons.
Yeah, I thought the whole Zappy thing was a little overblown. Mac Jones came back. I mean, he's played okay, but he needs weapons. I mean, same thing, you know, same thing, you know, out in New York, you know, Jones really, hey, when's the last time they put a receiver out there that was any good since he's been there? There hasn't been anybody. They traded, OBJ left the year he was drafted. So, you know, I think that goes hand in hand with, you know, the ability of teams to score points, obviously, and the success of the quarterback. So,
but at least New England has a great coach. They have a good owner, and they do have a starter. He's a starter in the league.
Right.
And he doesn't have an injury history. So, you know, it's not like Tua is a starter, but you're always worried about his health. Garoppolo, health. So that Zach Wilson, by the way.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of injuries. He's small. So Mac's sturdy, accurate, fiery, driven. He's a barker. I mean, he's yelling at people. There's a lot to like about Mac, but you're not going to get anything off script. You got to give him people that can make, you got to get him Deebo Samuels. You got to get him guys that can get yards after the catch, because he's not going to give you anything off script. That's not what he is.
Yeah. So appreciate that, Colin. Thanks for filling me in on the, you know, the quarterback situation. I know our customers over here, we're probably interested, we're definitely interested in your input, kind of where we see things going. I want to bring it back to the beer again, the draft pick, right? Hazy IPA, delicious
I'm
beer.
on the back of the can. Show the back of the can. Look at that.
Yeah. Where is it? Oh my God.
I got the 5 o'clock shadow.
Look at that, huh? There he is. Here, I'll read it there. Where Colin was right. Throughout my career, I've been known for making great picks. In fact, if there were a blazing 5 for IPAs, this would be my number 1. Like it, I love it. There you go. Signature.
Awesome. It really is a good beer.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Looking forward to launching it. I appreciate your time today. Thanks, Colin.
You bet. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.